All right, welcome to this session on OnCommand Insight Dashboard Creation. My name is Ben Conway. I'm a NetApp Customer Success Engineer, and let's just go ahead and dive right in. Our agenda here is we'll discuss a little bit about why you'd want to use dashboards in OCI, and then we'll spend most of the time in just demoing how to do it, and we have some resources there at the end that I'll share that might help you in terms of getting some pre-made dashboards and our documentation. So why are you going to want to use dashboards? Well, dashboards are a really easy way of getting some high-level information about your environment. You can create dashboards based on a lot of different criteria. You can create dashboards based on performance, capacity, or just hardware details about some of your storage arrays or whatever OCI is monitoring. I will also go into detail about what you can include in charts in terms of the different storage levels, such as the storage array, storage node, storage pool, internal volume, to name a few. And dashboards are just a nice, quick way of getting a view of certain things that might be occurring in your environment, whether that's high latency, high capacity, things like that. So let's just go ahead and dive right in, and let's see what we can do with dashboards. So let me pull this up here. So this is going to be the first page that you see typically when you log into OCI. You're going to see the assets dashboard, which is just a pre-made dashboard that is already included. Each one of these widgets is also something that you can load into your own dashboards if you so desire, but we'll go into that a little bit later. One thing I will mention regarding the permissions that are needed for dashboards. In OCI, you have the guest, user, and administrator user. And depending on what user privileges that you have will determine what you can do with dashboards. So if you are a guest user, you are only going to be able to view the dashboard and not make modifications or create your own. If you are a user or an admin, you should be able to create your own and make modifications to any existing dashboards. So just wanted to mention that to start off with, but let's go ahead and move on. So when you click on the dashboards tab up at the top left, you're going to be able to see the list of recently accessed dashboards and the current existing pre-made dashboards, the assets, and the violations dashboard. So if you click on show all dashboards, you should see a full list of all the dashboards that are currently in the environment and who's the owner of that dashboard or who created it. And so if you click on add, you're going to get to the new dashboard page, and you're going to be able to start building your own dashboard from here. So typically what you're going to want to start out with is looking at the widgets. And so there's a lot of different charts that we can put into a dashboard. But typically where I usually start out with is just a table widget, just to get things moving. And what you're going to first want to decide when you open up a dashboard or start creating one is where you're going to want to look in that dashboard. And so typically what I try to do is I try to have one specific type of asset for that dashboard. And I'll explain a little bit more later on why you want to do that. But so for instance, let's do this dashboard based on the storage pool level. And so once you click on the storage pool, you should see the results set down here change, just the names of the storage pools. But what you can also do is click on that drop down on the top right of that table, and you should see a whole list of the different attributes that you can add into this specific widget. And so you can go ahead and just start clicking, and the moment you do, you should start seeing the results that change out in the table. And so let's go ahead and add in some capacity metrics, overcapacity. Some of these are going to be NA. This is a demo database, but typically in your environment, you should see a lot of this information show up correctly. So let's just do IOPS total. Let's go down to the bottom and do throughput and I think it's under, where is it? Yes, we'll do IOPS and throughput, and we'll be good with that for now. And what you can see here is all the different columns that we just selected. You can also reorganize them however you want, and just by clicking and dragging. One thing I will mention is this override dashboard time. So by default, if you just have this turned off, it's going to be looking at what you have selected up here on the top middle section here. So by default, it's going to be 24 hours, but if you selected 3, then it's going to change the numbers that you see. If you choose 3 days, 7 days, it already changes the result set that you get back. But if you have a specific value that in mind for a chart and you don't want it to change based on what's selected at the top, you can go back into the widget and you can click on the override dashboard time on and then select what you want it to always be regardless of what's clicked on outside. But in this case, we'll just leave that off and then we'll give it a name. We'll just say storage pool details and click save. And as you might have seen, just by clicking on the little widget settings button, you can modify the created widget. And on the lower right of the widget, you can expand out how far it is, how tall it is. And so pretty easy to get a simple widget out there with some good details in it. And so once you have this information out into the table, you can then start adding in some other widgets to add in more flavor to the dashboard. So for instance, let's go ahead and add in a line chart, and let's do it based on, first of all, yeah, select storage pool, and let's just do it based on the total IOPS. And so right now we're just doing by all, which is all storage pools put together. This is the number of IOPS that are being seen over this time period. And like I said, it's based on that 24 hours outside. But if you did select 3 days, you'll instantly see 3 days worth of data rather than 24 hours worth of data points. We'll leave it just default for now. And you can see right now that the rollup is average. So that's average over that 24 hours for all of the storage pools. And you can change that to the max. So the numbers will definitely change. You can change it to the min or the sum. Really depends what you want, but we'll just stick with the average over 24 hours for now. And then you can just put up here, pool IOPS average. Oops. And so there we see it. You can drag it above the other one and make it as big as you want. So we'll just make it that big. And so that's an easy way to see, you know, some of that information that's already out here. And then what you can also do is, let's go in and modify this existing widget. What you can also do is add in additional lines to the chart that you just created. So for instance, if you were also interested in, let's say, the storage pool again, but this time we wanted to see the, let's say that the read IOPS and the write IOPS added together. So what you can do is click on convert to expression, because right now we can only do IOPS read here, and you can see, you know, down in the chart what the difference is. But if you do convert to expression, you can actually add together the read and write. So let's go ahead and add in the IOPS write. So here you see IOPS read, IOPS write, and they've been assigned to a variable here, so A and B. And so now you can actually create an expression, so you can add, divide, multiply, whatever you want. In this case, we're just going to do A plus B. Oops, B. And then you can see in this case, there's no other IOPS because the lines match exactly. But in certain cases, if there's other IOPS seen, then you're going to see a gap between the top line and the bottom line. And then what you can also do is come over here and change the label. And so instead of read, we're going to put R plus W, read and write, IOPS. And then as you highlight over, you should be able to see in the right side there, in that little box that comes up, the label on it. And what you can also do is under the display, you can change the type of chart that it is. So you can change it to a stack chart. And like I said, if there was an actual gap here, you'd be able to see that a little bit better. So let's just remove the B there for now. And so there you can see, if there were a gap between read and write, that would be the other IOPS. And so you can sort of see that. And it's just an easy way to create a better visualization. So we'll just keep that the same. And even though we're just keeping it just reads for now, we'll set it here to reads and writes, but we'll move on from that. And so basically that's just the line charts example along with the stacks, so you can mix and match. Let's go ahead and add in like a capacity trending real quick, and let's do it on a line chart as well. And so once again, you would just go down to storage pool. Under capacity, you could then put, the capacity used, or you could even do like the ratio used over time. And this is going to be all of them. And so you might be thinking, oh, that's not really useful. I don't want to see, every single storage pool. And so what you can also do is, instead of grouping by all, you can then come in here and take a look at what you can group things by. And so if you do it by name, that's just going to be a storage pool name. And so that's what we're going to want in this case. And you can see here that it looks like there's a lot of things at 100%. So let's not use the ratio used, let's do used. And so you can see here that there's going to be 10 lines, even though some of them are grouped up pretty nicely. And you're going to be able to see the top 10 used by name. And you can also turn on the legend. And so then you're going to be able to identify, the top 10 storage pool based on use capacity. And that's a good way just to, see that over time. And typically in your environment, you're going to see, some movement. But since this is a demo, the lines are pretty static. But we'll click on save. And so once again, the widget appears at the bottom, but you can move it up and do what you want with it. There we go. And so one thing I do want to mention as well is on the storage pool details, you can also, in the table, you can have a permanent sort already set up. So if you wanted to look at the highest IOPS automatically, you can do that. So this might be more interesting than just seeing some of your lesser used pools. You can then come over to the name of the storage pool, and if you click on it, which we're not going to do right now until I save it, so once you're ready to save, you go ahead and click on save, put your name in there, pool details, click on save. It will now show up in that list of dashboards. And so that's a good thing to remember. So if you are in the middle of creating something and you try to click on a device to go look at it, it will get rid of your dashboard if you click out of the page. So make sure you save that. And we'll come back to it in a second. I'll show you how to continue editing it. And so what you're going to do is then click on one of these aggregates. So let's just click on this one. And you'll see that it automatically comes over to the landing page, the detail page for this aggregate or storage pool. And you can look through here and see all of its details. And you should be able to come through here and troubleshoot issues in terms of performance and things like that. You can see over here, the top correlated devices on that storage pool relating to the IOPS. And we're not going to go any further into that, but that's definitely a use case. It helps you identify what you should be looking at, and then you can go drill deeper down into the details. So let's go back over to dashboards, and you should be able to see it in the recently accessed pool details. So if you click on pool details, it should come right back to your charts. And one thing you'll notice here is you don't see that little gear anymore. And so you're probably going to be thinking, oh, I can't edit this anymore. But what you're going to see is on this top right, if you are a user or an admin, you should see this edit. And if you click on that button that should allow you to then start working with your charts and dashboards again. And so once you click on the edit, we can come back in here and continue working. So something else I wanted to start looking at was the variables. And these are where the power from the dashboards really comes into view to me, just because this high level view is nice, but it is nice as well to be able to drill down to just one specific storage pool. And earlier I mentioned that a lot of times you're going to want to, sort of have a theme for the dashboard, in this case, storage pool. And if you have a theme like that, what you can do is on every single chart, or every single widget, in the dashboard, you're going to be able to add in a filter by a specific variable. And when you enter in that variable, every single chart will automatically, get filtered down to that specific thing. So let's go ahead and add one in here. Let's just do text to begin with. And so you're going to see here it's just given a variable name. And in this case, we're going to create a variable for the pool. So let's just do $pool. And so right now when you click on any, it's not going to do anything. But what we can then do is let's go down into the table first, click on the gear, and when we should see exactly what we did before. But then what you can do is click on filter. And in this case, since we are wanting to filter it by the storage pool name, if you come down, you should be able to see the name, and we know it's a storage pool because that's what we have selected. So if you click on name, you're going to see that there's a filter there, but right now it's just saying any. But what you can do is click on the any, and you'll see the variables that we have defined. So if you click on the pool variable, it will then filter this based on what we enter into that storage pool variable field. And so let's go ahead and click save, and let's do the same thing on these other two charts. So let's filter it by name, and you can also type it in so you don't have to search through every time. Do pool, and then I don't think we have to edit this one. Nope. And that's right as well. Since we're here, you can also add in other variables as well, and so you can have big expressions. It depends on you what you want to see. So let's go ahead and click save. Since we now have that filter there, let's do it over here as well. Filter once again by name. Nope. And then pool. All right, so now we have each one of these has that filter for that specific variable. And so now what we can do is when we're highlighting down here, you can see this little icon here, copy to clipboard on each one of these. So if you copy to clipboard, come up here, Control V, paste it, and click that check mark, you're going to see each and every chart in the widget get filtered down just to that one specific storage pool. And so I definitely think that's pretty handy, just so then you can have high level details, and then immediately when you identify a storage pool that you want to look at, you can put it up in the variable and immediately see just the the details related to that one storage pool. And then of course you can click into it and move on and go look at the landing page. But I think this is definitely a cool way of doing it. You can also, instead of filtering down to one specific storage pool, you can also take a look at the, really whatever you want. So let's do a tier and see if we have any tiers identified. Of course, you're going to have to come back through, add in that filter again for tier. So let's do that real quick. So you can have multiple filters going on, and as long as there's nothing in that variable, it's not going to get filtered by anything until that's populated. So let's do that, and let's go over here, add in the tier over here. All right, and then click save. So we should have the tier set up on all three, as well as the pool. And so what we'll do is as you can see, you probably don't want to click on the X because I just got rid of my filter there for the storage pool. I won't worry about it now since I'll have to go back through and change it, but make sure you don't click on the X. That's a good reminder. But basically, you would want to remove out the the variable that we had in there for the pool, the actual name, and so then all the charts will go back to where it was. And then what you can do is, since this is an annotation, you should see all the values listed for that annotation. And so that's something that you've already set up under Manage and Annotations in your environment. And what you can do is then just click on what you want to show up in the dashboard. You can select multiple or just one, and then click the checkbox. And then each one of these dashboards will get filtered down to just that bronze tier or whatever annotation it happens to be. So if we do gold, each one of these gets changed to gold. And then, of course, whatever conditions you had in the widget will just be for that tier, the gold tier, I mean. All right, so that's pretty much it at the high level. Let's dive into a few other things. You can also filter by numbers or by Boolean or by a specific date. As I said before, you can click up here and change the time period that we're looking at in all of these. So that can significantly change the numbers. One other thing I wanted to mention as well is that you can do specific ranges as well. So if you click on the settings here, you can also click on the plus sign, and let's do, let's see if I can find an example here. Let's say like least performing disk type. Oh, that's not the one. Let's do the lowest disk speed. And depending on what you're looking at, you might have some more of these where you can select a range. And so this is going to be looking at the RPM. And so, for instance, if you just wanted to see 7,200, you could do 7,200 to 7,200, or I don't know, 10,000. And so that's probably going to, remove a lot of stuff from the report, depending on what type of disks you have. And so that's something else you can do. But really, it depends on what you're trying to look at in the widget. Some of the other widgets that are that might be not as self-explanatory would be the single value widget. So let's click into that. So this is another widget that you can do calculations on. And so let's go down to the storage pool. And let's just take a quick look at, let's say, the used capacity. This is going to be right now just the sum of all the used capacity by storage pool in the environment. And so what you can do here is right now it's saying 879,000 gigabytes. So you might want to see that in terabytes, let's say. So what you can do is do A divided by 1024, enter, and so then you're going to see 858, which is a lot more, readable. But you're still going to see the gigabytes here. So what you're going to have to do is come over here to unit, change that to terabytes, and then you can change the description to however you want, and then save that. And so there you can add that in however you want. And so a lot of times, based on some of these charts, you might have, an IOPS single value widget next to this chart, or you might have the capacity next to this one. It really depends on what you're wanting to see out of the chart. Another pretty good one is the Scatterplot chart. So if you click on that, you're going to be able to compare two different values. And so in this case, let's go down to storage pool again. And so you can come through here and take a quick look. So let's do like IOPS versus, I don't know, let's do throughput, let's say. And so in here, you're going to be able to see, the low IOPS and then the high throughput over here. So you can see the different outliers. And of course, up here, you can see the show top 100 by x-axis. So we're going to be doing it by IOPS there. And so you can change this to top by y-axis, which would be the throughput. And so now it's going to be the top 100 by throughput. And of course, since we have a limited number in the demo database, the numbers remain the same, but that could change significantly. And so we'll just click cancel there. And so as you can see, there's a lot of different things that you can do with these widgets. It really depends at what level you're wanting to look. So for instance, if we were going to be doing this by node, there would be some other things that we might want to look at. So if we did this by node, we might want to be looking at the individual node, and we might be interested in the utilization, for instance. And so we might want to break this down by, let's say, by storage, and then say, the top 10. And so what you'd be looking for would be like any above, 50% or whatever, just for failovers or takeovers. And what you can do here is you can look at the utilization here. Let's do the total percentage, and you can specify a specific range like I was showing you with the RPMs. So you could say from 50 to 100. And so right now we're not seeing any matching records. We'd have to probably change this to like, I don't know, 35 or even lower. Let's do 20. And so there you go. We have a result again, just one. But basically what this can do is, so then you can set up a dashboard where you're looking for things above a certain percentage or between, above 50%. You can also, instead of putting up to 100, you can just put 20 if it's like a capacity number or whatever, and it'll still do the same thing, except that it's not bounded up to 100. So that would be more for something that wasn't a percent. And of course, you can change this to be 20, 50, or even fewer, depending on the number of details that you want. You can also create bar charts or box plots based on the IOs. You should be able, like when you highlight over it, it'll give you the min, lower quartile, medium, upper quartile, and max. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, but really it all starts out with choosing where you want to look and then seeing what you can put in using that specific object. So like for instance, if you did data store, what you might want to first do is after you select that, just look through the different values that are available to use. As you can see that these values change based on what you select. So if you did like Q-tree level, you're probably not going to see nearly as much, but that would be the first thing that you'd want to do is determine what you want to look at and then just see what we have to look through. And as I mentioned before, you typically want to sort of have a theme for the dashboard, whether it's going to be storage pool, node, whatever, especially if you're going to be using variables to filter down the results. If you're not using variables, then you can just mix and match how you want and just put it out there. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of the demo. We definitely have some other training out there in terms of documentation where we walk you through how to create some of these. Something else that you can also do to get more experience is just to look at some of these pre-made ones. That's something that I was also going to mention at the end here, the resources. We have our automation store that has some pre-built solution packs that have a lot of different dashboards available for use. So if you come back over here, let's pull up the automation store. So that's automationstore.netapp.com. And once you get to the automation store, let me just show you. It should take you to this screen. You can click on OnCommand Insight. And from here, you can click on solution packs. And I will say as well that you do need to have a NetApp login to be able to download these dashboard packs. And what you're going to see when you get here is we have multiple solution packs. Some of them that are more commonly used would be like the FC admin, which is focused on the fiber channel side of things. We got one that's specific to NetApp, and then the storage admin is vendor agnostic, and then we have VMware. And so when you actually click on these and download them, you're going to see a PDF in there that sort of lists out all the dashboards that are included and what the use case for those dashboards would be. And once you have those dashboards downloaded, what you can do is then come over to admin, setup. We'll go ahead and let that, and go over to import export data. And what you can do is then select a file. And what we'll do is we will, let me browse over to it. And so what you can then do is go over to the solution pack and open up the export. And then you would just click on import. And you can see here, it'll tell you all the different dashboards that were loaded in. And then go over to dashboards and show all dashboards. And then you should be able to see all these new dashboards in the environment. And so I think that was pretty much it. Thank you for your time.